Hola, yo soy Mariana. I'm Mariana y te doy la bienvenida a Spring Spanish. Welcome to Spring Spanish. In today's lesson, we will cover the 5 most important grammar topics for Spanish in a fun and easy way. Before we get started, do you know that we publish 5 different Spanish lessons every week? So, if you don't want to miss out on lessons as complete and cool as this one, click on the subscribe button and then on the bell and you'll get a notification every time a new lesson is up. ¿Ya te suscribiste? Have you subscribed already? Vamos a darle entonces. Spanish grammar can be tricky, but in this video, you'll learn the most important aspects you should bear in mind to be able to master it like native speakers do. Verb conjugation, for example, might seem very challenging. Y sí, lo es. And yes, it is. Pero la conjugación en inglés es aún más difícil, but conjugation in English is even trickier. Si superaste ese reto cuando eras bebé, if you were able to tackle that challenge as a baby and now speak perfect English, you're more than capable of learning Spanish. To do that, keep this in mind. Verbs in Spanish end in either AR, ER, or IR when they are in the unconjugated form. For example, hablar, to talk, beber, to drink, dormir, to sleep. Verbs in Spanish may be either regular or irregular. Regular verbs follow a pattern when conjugated, but irregular verbs don't. Now, the key here is that when it comes to regular verbs, such as hablar and beber, the stem will always be the same. What's the stem? Well, it's that portion of the verb that's left when you delete the relevant ending. Remember, AR, ER, or IR. If you take those endings out, you are left with habl and beb. Those are your stems. Verb conjugation changes depending on the point in time when an action was performed. I have prepared an entire video about verb conjugations in the present tense, but just to give you an idea about how regular verbs work, let's go over 2 examples. Yo no hablo en clase. I don't speak in class. Yo bebo cerveza en Navidad. I drink beer on Christmas Eve. Did you notice the pattern? Yes, an O has been added to the stems, and that's how it works whenever you're talking about the first person singular, yo, in the present tense. Now, as regards dormir, you might think that the conjugation is yo dormo, but that's Italian. Dormir is an irregular verb. Therefore, the stem changes when conjugated in the present tense. For example, yo duermo mucho los fines de semana. I sleep a lot on weekends. If you conjugate it in the past tense, then you use the stem. For example, dormí solo 4 horas anoche. I slept only 4 hours last night. Sé que esto se ve confuso. I know this looks confusing. That's why it's easier to learn chunks instead of conjugation tables. Chunks are word combinations that native speakers use, so you can't be 100% sure that they're gonna be right every single time you say them, and you don't have to worry about grammar. If you want to know more about our conversation-based chunking method, click on the link in the description box. There, you'll be able to sign up to a free Spanish training where you'll discover the method we use at our Spring Spanish Academy to teach students to speak fluent Spanish. Additionally, you'll get free sample Spanish lessons. So, don't forget to click on that link once you're done watching this video. Since verb conjugation in Spanish clearly indicates who did what and when, you don't have to use personal pronouns every single time like you do in English. Oh, by the way, personal pronouns are these little words that indicate who you're talking about, like I, you, he, she, and so on. In Spanish, personal pronouns are yo, tú, él, ella, and so on. You might have noticed that in the last example, there was no personal pronoun. Dormí solo 4 horas anoche. I slept only 4 hours last night. In English, you have to say I slept. In Spanish, however, if you just say dormí, the other person knows you're talking about something you did in the past. You may, however, use the personal pronoun to emphasize who performed the action. Nouns in Spanish may be either feminine or masculine. If they are feminine, they will use the article la. If they are masculine, they will use el. Both are the equivalent of the. ¿Cómo saber si un sustantivo es femenino o masculino? How can you tell whether a noun is feminine or masculine? Well, when it comes to people or animals, it's pretty straightforward in general. For example, la abogada, the female lawyer, el abogado, the male lawyer. La gata, the female cat, el gato, the male cat. As regards inanimate objects, usually feminine nouns include la manzana, the apple, which ends with an A, la ciudad, the city, which ends with a D, la emperatriz, the empress, which ends with a Z, la estación, the station, which ends in ción, la costumbre, the costume, which ends in umbre. Masculine nouns include el libro, the book, which ends with an O, el equipaje, luggage, which ends with an E, el café, coffee, which ends with a vowel with an accent mark, el amor, love, which ends with a consonant. Find out more about noun gender in Maria Fernanda's video. Now, what should you do si hay más de una manzana, if there's more than one apple? O si tienes más de un libro, if you have more than one book? First, la turns into las and el turns into los. Then, you should add an S or ES at the end of the relevant noun. For example, la manzana, las manzanas. El libro, los libros. If the noun ends with a vowel, all you have to do is add an S at the end. But if the noun ends with a consonant, then you have to add ES. For example, la ciudad, las ciudades. La emperatriz, las emperatrices. Notice how letter Z turned into letter C. La estación, las estaciones. Notice how the accent mark disappeared. El amor, los amores. The verb to be has two equivalents in Spanish, ser and estar. Ya sé, I know. Estás pensando que vas a perder la cabeza. You're thinking you're going to lose your mind. But I've prepared an entire video to explain the differences between ser and estar. So, in addition to watching that video, I invite you to sign up to our free Spanish training. All you have to do is click on the link in the description box below and you'll find out how to learn Spanish without having to worry about all these complicated grammar rules. Thanks for watching and nos vemos! Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share this video with your friends.